welcome to the Life Lesson Stories. Today we are going to discuss the summary of the Brothers Karamazov Book 5. When Alyosha returns to see Katrina, he finds that she has fallen ill. Alyosha explains to Liz what happened with the captain because Katrina is asleep. Liz is affected by Alyosha's loving compassion for the man, and she is moved to confess to Alyosha that the letter was not a joke and that she did mean that she said. Alyosha confesses that he has lied. He does have the letter and keeps it near to his heart because it is so meaningful to him. They realize that they care for each other and they decide to get married. Lizzie's mother has been listening to their conversation and she tells Alyosha she doesn't approve of the marriage. She thinks Liz is too young. Alyosha tells her that the marriage is still a long way off, so she doesn't have to worry about Liz's age. Alyosha goes to find Dmitri. He decides that it is more important to help his brother than to hurry back to Father Zosima's side. Instead, he finds Samardyakov and he asks him if he has seen Dmitri. Samardyakov tells Alyosha that Ivan is going to meet Dmitri at a restaurant, so Alyosha goes to meet his two brothers there. He cannot find Dmitri, only Ivan is there. Ivan says he has grown to like and respect Alyosha. He tells Alyosha that he has a desire for living, but the world seems to be an unfair, ugly place. Alyosha is too preoccupied with the situation between his father and Dmitri. However, to focus on this conversation, he is worried that something dreadful might happen between the two of them if Ivan goes to Moscow. Ivan responds that it is not his responsibility to take care of his brother or his licentious father. He tells Alyosha that he hates even being around his father. This is why he came to the restaurant. Ivan lays out his theological opinions for Alyosha. He says what he does not accept and cannot accept is the God-created world. He believes that the mystery of God does not make sense to him. Man should be able to comprehend God if he is God's own creation. Ivan ponders that this means he necessarily has to reject God. Alyosha wonders why Ivan cannot accept the world. Ivan adds that he has never been able to understand how it is possible to love one's neighbors. He cannot stand the barbarism that seems to be inherent in man. He hates the suffering of children the most. He says that the only realization for the suffering of children is that they are paying for the sins of their fathers who ate the apple. He cannot accept a God that allows this sort of injustice. He feels that loving God is like loving one who tortures you. Alyosha is appalled by all this, and he asks how Ivan can be so pessimistic about the world. Ivan responds that he is not being pessimistic. He simply does not think that anything is worth the suffering of an innocent like a child. He asks Alyosha if he would torture just one single creature, if by doing so he could establish peace and tranquility for all mankind. Alyosha says he would not. Ivan begins to recite to Alyosha a poem that he has composed, The Grand Inquisitor. In the 16th century, during the Inquisition, Christ returns to the world, healing and preaching in the streets. As he is healing some gatherers, a cardinal realizes who is and has him arrested. In prison, Christ is visited by the Grand Inquisitor, who admonishes Christ for reappearing. He says that Christ's presence is interfering with the church. When Christ resisted temptations from Satan in the desert, he cursed man with liberty. Ever since, the church has had to work to reverse the damage. For instance, human nature dictates that man will not give up nourishment or safety for the promise of something as ill-defined as a heavenly reward. Thus, given a choice, man will always fail to follow a heavenly path. The Grand Inquisitor argues that security is preferable to freedom. Also, if Christ had demonstrated his heavenly ability by performing a miracle instead of humbly resisting temptation, man would have something to worship, which is man's greatest need on earth. The Grand Inquisitor says that. The Grand Inquisitor also says that since Christ doesn't accept the power offered him by the devil, he forced the church to assert power over man. The church has finally gotten man to give up his Christ's given freedom in exchange for happiness and security. The Grand Inquisitor says he realizes that this puts him on Satan's side on the argument, but he asserts that the precedent that Christ set when he resisted the temptation is very high. It is very difficult for man to achieve this level of strength, and only a few can do so. If only a few strong men can be saved anyway, at least the Grand Inquisitor's plan grant pleasure and satisfaction on earth. Christ kisses the Inquisitor, never saying a word. Inexplicably, the Grand Inquisitor sets him free and tells him never to return. Ivan concludes his story and looks to Alyosha for his reaction. Alyosha only kisses his brother, and Ivan says, "That's plagiarism." They conclude their meal happily and part ways. Ivan is troubled after he leaves Alyosha. He starts to feel physically ill, but he doesn't understand why. When he sees Smerdyakov sitting outside, however, he realizes that this miserable wretch has been weighing on his mind. Instead of lashing out at him, he approaches him very amiably, and the two begin to talk. Smerdyakov says that he is worried by the love triangle consisting of Grushenka, Fyodor, and Dmitry. Both Dmitry and Fyodor are so worked up about the girl that they have both threatened Smerdyakov. He says that he might have an epileptic seizure because of the stress, hinting that he may even fake a seizure for his own safety. He then admits that he is burdened with the knowledge of what Grushenka's signals to old Karamazov will be when she visits him. He knows that if Grushenka goes to Fyodor, it will throw Dmitry into a rage, and he will come after his father. Smerdyakov fears that Fyodor will be helpless because Grigory and Marfa will not be able to protect him because they are both ill. In addition, Smerdyakov will not be able to help if he is incapacitated by seizure. This information is alarming to Ivan, and he is skeptical of Smerdyakov's intentions for telling him all of this. He asks Smerdyakov if he has intentionally created a situation where Dmitry will have free rein to murder his father. Ivan realizes that he cannot protect his father. He made clear earlier that he is not his father's keeper. Since he is going to Moscow, Smerdyakov unsuccessfully pleads with Ivan not to go to Moscow, and they both retire. Ivan lies awake, distressed by his talk with Smerdyakov. When morning comes, he meets with Fyodor, who also pleads with him to stay home with him. Ivan, worn down, decides to stay in home. He informs Smerdyakov that he will indeed stay at home. Later on, Smerdyakov in fact has a seizure and falls down the stairs. As Smerdyakov foresaw, Fyodor is left unprotected, waiting for Grushanka. The summary is ended. The book 5 of the Brothers Karamazov, titled Pro and Contra, is a pivotal and intellectually charged section of the novel that delves into the depth of Ivan's philosophical struggles with faith, morality, and the nature of humanity. Through Ivan's character, Dostoevsky presents a scathing critique of the world and the concept of God, highlighting the existence of suffering and injustice, particularly the suffering of innocent children. Ivan's rebellion against faith is a central theme as he grapples with the idea of a benevolent God allowing such atrocities to occur. This internal conflict is a manifestation of the broader philosophical debates of the time, putting reason and rationality against faith and spirituality. One of the most iconic and thought-provoking chapters in the novel, The Grand Inquisitor, is featured in Book 5. In this chapter, Ivan shares a story set in Seville during the Spanish Inquisition, where Jesus Christ returns to earth only to be confronted by the Grand Inquisitor. The Grand Inquisitor, a symbol of institutionalized faith and power, accuses Jesus of abandoning humanity by not providing them with the guidance and authority they crave. Instead, Jesus offered freedom, which has led to suffering and confession. The Grand Inquisitor argues that humanity is weak and incapable of handling true freedom, and that the Church has taken upon itself to provide the necessary structure and authority. This parable serves as a critique of organized religion and raises questions about the nature of faith, free will, and redemption. Meanwhile, the tensions within the Karamazov family continue to escalate, with Dmitri's conflict with Fyodor reaching a boiling point. Alyosha, caught in the midst of his family's turmoil, struggles to navigate the complex web of relationship and moral dilemmas. As the novel progresses, the boundaries between good and evil become increasingly blurred, and the characters are forced to confront with their own inner demons. The philosophical debates and emotional intensity of Book 5 set the stage for the tragic events that will unfold in the subsequent parts of the novel. Thank you so much.